The first time I heard about this game was in the 6th grade. Since the 5th grade, I always hung out with the same 3 guys. We'll call them A, B, and C. We were the type of kids who were always noisy in class, and we liked rather refined games. We'd build secret bases, play Kokori-san, we'd test our metal in the local graveyards, and so forth. It was the normal stuff that kids anywhere would do. But around halfway through the year, stairway ghost stories started to become really popular. The rules were as follows. From the top landing of the school stairs, that is, from in front of the door leading to the rooftop, you sit down and tell as many stories as there are stairs leading up, one by one. Each time you tell a story, something will take a step closer. By the time that something reaches the top step, something really strange will happen. Once you start, you mustn't stop, and until that something reaches the top landing, you mustn't look down. There were a few other rules, but they weren't as important. It was essentially a game that mixed a round of ghost stories with Kokori-san. In addition to us 4 guys, a girl named Dee also joined us. Eventually, the game became so popular the teachers got wind of it and banned it outright, so we decided to play on a Sunday when no one is around. Sunday came around, and we gathered at school with 2 or 3 ghost stories prepared each. I remember looking for really scary stories that would make the other boys wet their pants, because I wanted to look cool in front of Dee. Once everyone was there, we went straight for the stairs. We counted each step on the way up. There were 12 in total. We sat on the dusty landing, made a circle, and got ready. You're not scared, are you? Of course not. We were ready for anything. Dee was also unexpectedly brave. She looked like she could take on anything. I was sitting with my back to the stairs, and to be honest, I was a little scared. But I didn't want the others to know, so I pretended otherwise. Then, we started to play. We started from A, then B, C, myself, and finally D. Including my own, each of the stories we prepared were actually somewhat scary. So as we finished a single round, I started to feel chills run up and down my spine. Every now and then, one of the guys would poke fun, but eventually, we started to lose momentum, and even D looked a little worried. Being that it wasn't a school day, the school itself was rather gloomy, wrapped in an ominous atmosphere. A finished his ghost story. According to the rules, this was now the 6th step. We were entering the final half. We began round 2 of our stories. We all looked at each other. Not a single one of us said anything. At that moment in time, all I wanted to do was go home. I think the others felt the same way as well. But, according to the rules, we couldn't stop, so we kept going. We didn't know what might happen if we did stop. B started his story. As he did, the air around us changed. It felt heavy, like something was closing in on us. No way, we need to get out of here. Something horrible was coming, I thought. B finished his story. Only 5 more steps. What would happen once it reached the top? Nobody was acting tough anymore. D was nearly in tears. C finished his story. It wasn't just my imagination. I definitely heard something. Something was behind me. A, who was sitting directly in front of me, was desperately looking down at the ground. Perhaps whatever it was had already appeared, so he was doing his best not to look at it. It was my turn next. I did my best to remember the story I prepared and recited it to the group. At that moment, I heard a girl's voice behind me.
Behind you, look! Behind you! I'm behind you.
My breath caught in my throat. Somebody let out a small scream. Dee started crying. For a moment we sat there in silence. I wanted to think about what we should do, but my brain wasn't working. There was nothing else we could do. We had to keep going. It was forbidden to stop once you started. I couldn't think of anything else. My voice trembled and I stumbled over my words, but I finished another story. Laughter rang out all around us. Next was Dee. She fumbled over her words and took over 10 minutes to tell her ghost story, but I didn't think anyone actually heard it.
Don't be scared. I just want to play a game with you.
It was the girl's voice. She was right behind me. She was so close I could hear the rustling of her clothes. A started telling his story. "Just stop already," C yelled out. "Huh? But... A stammered. No, I'm sorry. We can't do that. Sorry. C suddenly started repeating the word sorry over and over, like he'd gone crazy. His eyes were blank, like he was no longer in there. We had no time to worry about him. Dee closed her eyes and covered her ears. Just hurry up and finish already. A began telling another story. C continued to repeat sorry over and over, interrupting A's story, but finally he finished.
I am right behind you.
One more step. Everyone was praying for the game to finish quickly. Then B started to talk. Time felt exceedingly slow. Finally, he finished his story. I felt it to my right. It had arrived. We all closed our eyes and covered our ears. Even C fell silent. What was going to happen? Then, in an instant, the atmosphere returned to normal. Huh? I cautiously removed my hands from my ears, opened my eyes, and looked up. She was there, right before our eyes, in the middle of the circle. She was wearing a flower-patterned dress, with just her ankles peeking out from underneath. Her entire body was covered in laughing faces. They were packed tightly together, so many of them, all over her body. The faces all laughed together. We all got up at the same time and ran. C seemed to have turned normal from his bout of craziness as well.
Hey, don't you run away. Please stay. If you don't come play with me, then we will kill you.
We ran all the way down to the schoolyard before we stopped to catch our breath. What the hell was that? Dee pointed to the school rooftop. That girl was standing there, waving at us. We took off again, running all the way back to A or B's house. I don't remember which. After that day, we never saw that girl again. We never told anyone about what happened either. We decided to never speak about it amongst ourselves ever again, and that was the end of it. But even now, we still don't know where the rumor of the stairway ghost stories originally came from.